Today I'm working on this dresser that I found on the streets. It has good bones and overall condition it was acceptable. And I did the prep work, the cleaning and scuff sanding and filling of the veneer out of the camera just to save time on the video. Now I'm doing the sanding on the areas that I put with filler, and I fill the holes of the hardware because I'm gonna swap it for a new one, and for that matter I need to fill the old holes. I did a second coat of the filler because the first one was not enough. Normally that's something very common. If you don't work with bondo, it's common to have to do more than one layer of wood filler to have a surface perfectly level. The next step on the transformation is gonna be the primer. I did 2 coats of primer water-based on this dresser. I also applying it with a sponge because I just find it's easier and also help me to avoid sanding between coats mostly of the time. But I always remember to let it fully dry according to the direction of the manufacturer before applying the second one. After I did my first coat of primer, I noticed it needed more wood filler in some areas. So that's what I'm doing right now. Putting the extra filler that is needed to have a perfect surface before painting. For this project, I choose the combination of orange and blue. The orange is gonna be all over the body of the dresser, and you will see what I'm gonna integrate the blue later on. I make a custom color. I use Bare Premium Enamel for trim, doors, and cabinets. Fast drying, and I make my own colors basically. I just buy the primaries, white and black, and I make my own colors. I found that I save way more money doing that making them mix the color that I want for every single project. And again, I'm using the little sponge that I bought on Home Depot that it was so helpful for this project because of the corner. It gets to the corner so easily. I love it. second layer of paint, my dresser had a little sad accident, and I broke one of the bottom, the ornaments. So here I am trying to fixing it with wood filler that I bought Amazon. It's called Bone Car. For this type of repairs, I would not recommend to use it, even though they say and they advertise they're good for deep and for this type, but like actually this is only good for filling hardware holes or minor repairs. Like if I wouldn't know that this was gonna happen, I would have even used it with a mold. But I think thinking that for this type of repair, it's better stick with Bondo. Bondo it never fails me, but this was a disaster. And also I have to make so many layers, and when I was sanding, these things peels, cracks. It was awful. It took me forever to get it fixed to be able to keep working on the dresser. But I keep, even though I was fixing it, I was still advancing it. I was still doing painting because this part is not gonna have paint on it. It's gonna have leaves, so that really didn't delay me on the project, but it was just a pain. It's a terrible product. For me, it didn't work whatsoever. I give it a 3 out of 10. And I hate the fact that they say it could be used for major repairs, but it's really not. It's not meant for that. For the sake of coat paint, if you notice the color is slightly different, and I changed it a little because I felt the first color that I mixed, it was too bright, and I don't want the body of the dresser to be the main star of this transformation. I want it to be the second part that we are gonna do after I finish painting. So that's why I switched it to a still orange, but it's a little bit more nude. So I felt it wasn't gelling look at me that much. So now we are gonna work on it in one of my favorite part of every flip, which is getting the inside of the draw a wow finish. So because I'm working with orange and blue, I choose a dark blue for the inside of the draw. I just did it because of pleasure. I love to see those draw after they are painted. They actually didn't need the paint job because they were in very good condition, like it says. And here I tried something new. Instead of using wood transfer, I found this Dollar Tree wall decal, which has the same pattern that has the front detail of the dresser. So I thought it was perfect. And actually, they were surprisingly good. Like in this part of the transformation, I placed the decal on the wrong place. And I damaged my paint job because the paint it was dry, but it wasn't cured. So the glue of those wall decals are so strong that when I remove it to replace it, I messed that up, the paint. So I think they are actually very good for the price, especially when you compare that a transfer could cost you like around $30, and this just cost $1.25. It was like less than $3 per draw because I placed one on each side of the draw. And the look, I just love the way it looks. Look how the paint is peeling when I lift it up. What a silly moment. But that's okay because that showed me how strong the glue is and makes me actually feel more comfortable with using it on furniture. But even though I noticed it has good glue, after I place all the stickers on it, I seal them with 3 coats of top coat, just because I want to make a bonding bridge between the decal and the draw. So I was gonna have a second insurance that this is not going nowhere. Now, for the paint pour, I use 4 colors. 2 blues and 2 orange. Those were my main. And I use gold and white mica powder as a brush. What I use it to mix the paint to get it to the viscosity that I want is a mix that I did of Flutro, top coat, and water. For every cup of Flutro, I put half a cup of top coat and 1/4 cup of water. I didn't put all my paint in 1 cup just to avoid over mixing it and create mud. If you see, I put in the color straight into the draw, and then I spread it by tilting the draw and blowing with my mouth. To pop the bubbles on the paint, you could use either a lighter like I did I had gotten, or alcohol 91%. If you want to get cells like I did, you could put silicone on your paint pour mix. The next thing that I did is because I want to have a wood top finish, and The veneer on this dresser was not in good condition, like for me to sand it up and just stain it. I create a fox wood. You are might thinking that I'm crazy because I'm putting purple on top of orange. But you have to understand color theory. The orange that I use on the dresser, it has a tendency to yellow. Yellow and purple are opposite on the color wheel. And because I wanna have like a very contrasting wood grain and for this top for this foxwood finish, I choose purple because once I stain it, it will look darker. Um, so just stay with me, trust the process that you will see it. So I just to achieve that, I just with a sponge brush I apply a thin coat of paint, and right after I pass my wood tool on top, and that will create the grain. And if you see, I pass the tool in two different directions. Like if one step in one pass I go left to right, on the next one I will go right to left. Because normally when you see a wood top, that's how the grain of the wood will go. So that's why I'm doing it that way. What I love the most of this type of finish is that it's so forgetful. Because if I pass my wood grain tool and I didn't like the result, I could just pass again or apply more paint and pass again my tool until I'm satisfied with the result. And if you will see me here, like that little tiny corner of the beginning of the last pass, I wasn't satisfied, so I would pass over and it would just look perfect, like it was meant to be like that for Mother Natural. And that's what I love about this. And it's like it doesn't matter how many times you do it, every single pass will look different, like it's supposed to be. I don't sand between coats, but when I do this type of faux wood finish, I do because the wood grain tool leave a texture that for my taste is too raised. So I just pass a light sand over the sand that I did. It was 600, so it was like very, very light. And after that, I clean the desk and I start my favorite part, which is the stain, because it's where it's when it start looking like real wood. Here you're looking me applying the second coat of stain, and I will actually gonna do up to a third coat because my base it was orange, so I don't want to have orange wood. I want to have a deep mahogany look wood. So now, like, look the difference. This is after the third coat of paint. Of stain, and look how beautiful it is. The stain that I use also is built on top coat, so I don't have to use top coat on it because it's already protected. So that's another step that don't have to do. And the paint that I use also it doesn't need top coat. So I just use top coat on this dresser because I apply gold leaf, and gold leaf have to be sealed. Otherwise, with the time, it will oxidize and it will change the color. This is a boo-boo that I have. When I place my dresser to dry, the surface wasn't perfectly level. So that draw that you're seeing got messed up. So I have to scrape the paint and redo the pouring. And this is so important that you make sure that whatever you place your pour to dry is perfect level. Otherwise, your pour will get damaged. You have to keep in mind that the pour could dry between 5 to a 10 days period. So it's important that you could keep it on a place where it's level and covered, so no dust get into your pour. And after it's dry, I retouch my paint because with the tilting, I messed up a little the borders of my draw, and it was some spilling on some part of the body of the paint. Now for the new hardware, I choose wood knobs, and I was at the beginning I was indecisive. I was trying to do a mix between stain and gold leaf, and that's why you're looking me now staining. And look how rich this stain is. That's just one coat, and look how dark it is. Just compare side by side the difference. And after that, I mask because I just want the gold leaf on the side, and I apply my gold leaf on the side. But later on, I changed my mind again, and I fully cover my knobs. But you will see the final result. It was looking better. Like I compare. I put it next to the pour, and it was just not looking right having that wood stain next to the pour. It wasn't just looking right, so it was looking better with gold leaf. That's why I switched to a full cover gold leaf knob later on. Because I use silicone on my paint pour mix, now I have to clean my drawer before moving to the next step. For that, I use baby powder and I just, scrub it around all the paint pour area. And after that, I use baby wipes to remove the powder and finish cleaning with a towel wet with alcohol. Just I have to say, you have to keep in mind, don't be too rough, either with the wipes or with the alcohol, because the paint is not cured; it's just dry. This paint take up to 30 days to be fully cured. So the alcohol and the wipes could remove a little bit of the paint on the cleaning process. But this, if you use silicone, you cannot skip it, because if you skip it and it's any remind of that silicone on the surface, either you choose put top coat or resin like I did, it won't stick, and all the work that you have done, it will go down the drain. So it's super important to clean before putting the final coats to ensure you have no silicone residue. Like here, I'm now start cleaning with the alcohol after I remove all the powder. And also make sure you really remove all the powder, because otherwise it would show on your final result. And just want you to look how clean my tower is and how it will look after I pass it on the pour. That, like, that's what I'm saying, that you have to be gentle, because look how it remove, how it pull the blue of my paint. Now for my next step, it will be resin. I'm using total bowl resin, that is one-on-one resin. And the mixing is super important. I use the 2 cup method. That means that you put your resin and your hardener on 1 cup, mix it very well until it looks uniform, and then after you put the mix in another cup, scrape the bottom and all the sides of your cup and remix it again. This method ensures is the resin is well mixed. That way you won't get any one sticky spot on your resin when it's drying. Another thing that I will tell you, for this, you will need something to pop the bubbles. You could either use alcohol, but 91% alcohol minimum. Don't use 70% because you will damage the resin. Or you could use hot glue, or like I did, that I used a small lighter to pop my bubbles. Once I put down my resin, I help me with my fingers and with a bamboo stick to move the resin around and make sure it touching every single part of the surface that I want to get covered. That helps to break the surface tension and also helps the resin to level. This is so important that you make sure that it's touching every single border of the area that you want to cover, because if there isn't a surface tension, that the the pour was, you will have to redo it at the end of the day, and you don't want that. This take like 72 hours to fully cure, like 24 hours to be dry to the touch. So you don't want to waste that time. So if you look at me, like, you could see like the difference when I pass the stick, like, to the border, how easy it levels. And if you see I messed up a little, it was a little bit spill of resin on it, and that's why I will tell you, keep a towel with alcohol to clean right away. If that happens to you, if you clean it with alcohol right away, that area won't be sticky anymore, and that's a great cleaning tool to have next to you when you're working with resin. Also, when you're working with resin, you either want to pour fast or do it on batch, because The resin, once you put the harness, it starts the chemical reaction. And if you have a lot of resin in one bucket, that make the reaction to work faster and will heat it up faster, will end in making the resin to harden on you. And you don't want that. You don't want to waste resin either. And now after I pour, I cover with cardboard my resin to make sure it's not dust on my surface. You see, now I'm covering again my knobs because I just didn't like it how it looks again. And this is the final result. I hope you have enjoyed and see you on the next flip.